Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket from Rev TV. You'll get every game every Sunday afternoon in crystal clear HD. That's over 220 football games for the entire regular season. Plus, NFL Sunday Ticket gives you up to 8 live games on one screen with Game Mix. You'll get that died and woke up in football heaven experience when you include NFL Red Zone, a channel dedicated to every scoring play from every game and all your fantasy football teams. Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket. Call 601-8992 today.
Thousands of Baha Mar workers laid off. A new BEC board appointed. The Prime Minister slams critics. Plus, the House Speaker dismisses claims he was undemocratic. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Vonique Toot and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, 2,000 Baha Mar employees have reportedly been let go. In a letter to employees this afternoon, joint liquidators announced that due to the company's perilous financial position, it is clear Baha Mar does not have sufficient cash available to continue to meet all operating costs, including maintaining employment at existing levels. Therefore, an employee redundancy plan has been implemented. Dana Smith has the details.
2,000 jobs at Baha Mar were cut today. In a letter to staff, the resort CEO Sarkis Ismirlian said the day we have hoped would never arrive is here. Ismirlian's letter read, "I am writing to you with a heavy heart. Despite all our efforts and hard work, the day we have hoped would never arrive is here, and the liquidation process has forced very significant workforce reductions at Baha Mar. The unfortunate truth is that with Baha Mar still not completed, no concrete resolution in place, no confirmed funding source, and without the benefit of binding the parties into a proven reorganization process, there is simply no way for Baha Mar to sustain the thousands of jobs that are being cut today." Joint Provisional Liquidators Edmund Ramin, Nick Cropper, and Alistair Beveridge said in a letter of their own, following a review of Baha Mar's financial affairs, it is clear the development would not have sufficient cash available to continue to meet all its operating costs, including maintaining its employment at existing levels. They said they urgently sought to obtain external funding, and while efforts in this regard continue, to date, limited sources of funding have been identified. As a result, the liquidators informed employees, due to the perilous financial position of the companies, the provisional liquidators have today made the decision to implement an employee redundancy plan in respect of Baha Mar Limited and Baha Mar Enterprises Limited. This will result in a significant number of employees being made redundant as of October 23, 2015, and a reduced workforce being retained to assist the provisional liquidators in continuing to preserve and maintain the Baha Mar project. Employees who are being made redundant will receive a formal letter of termination via email, and employees who are being retained will be contacted before the end of today and advised to continue to report for work as directed. According to the liquidators, all employees made redundant will be paid for any outstanding salary and any benefits as it relates to the period since the provisional liquidator's appointment on September 4th up to today. However, when it comes to severance and redundancy benefits, the liquidators say, due to their insolvency, Baha Mar Limited and Baha Mar Enterprises Limited are not in a position to pay any amounts which may be due at this time in respect of the period prior to the appointment of the provisional liquidators. All payments due to employees other than earned and unpaid salary for the month of October through to October 23rd will rank as a claim against the company that your employment contract is with. The liquidators said they continue to work hard to facilitate discussions between the stakeholders in order to identify a way forward that will enable the Baha Mar project to be completed as soon as possible. It said discussions to date have been constructive. But the future of the mega resort remains unclear. In his letter, Ismailian said while there are still ongoing conversations with all parties aimed at finding a solution to be able to finish and open Baha Mar, it is very difficult to predict where these will lead us. As such, I am not able to tell you what the future holds for us. Well, government appeared to be blindsided by the decision. When MB12 asked Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson about the move today, she said government maintains its position that all employees be retained at the resort.
The questions that you have put are questions that are properly put to the joint provisional liquidators. What I will say is that the government of the Bahamas has made it very clear that you've seen before the liquidation, the government saw to it that the employees were retained, and that is the government's position still. The Prime Minister has been quite firm that it is very important that we maintain some form of employment for Bahamians. And that is the position that we have put to the joint provisional liquidators, and and the other entities as well, the other stakeholders as well, and that is the position that we hope that they note and that will be maintained.
But what about government's commitment to pay the salaries of Bahamian employees? Maynard Gibson explained that the provisional liquidators are now in control of the funds government provided, and they alone, with the courts, have the final say.
The balance of the monies was turned over to the joint provisional liquidators, and that matter is entirely now a matter for them and the courts.
For weeks now, government has sat in on negotiations with Baha Mar Principals, China State Construction America, and China Exim Bank. Unable to describe the tone of those meetings to NB12, Maynard Gibson said the government remains hopeful that an agreement will be reached, but understands the reality of an approaching deadline.
We are still hopeful, and we would like to see an agreement because obviously that is the best way to resolve the matter. However, November 2nd is approaching, and the government is quite determined that that development that is so important to the hopes and aspirations of Bahamians, especially young Bahamians, is to be completed.
Ismailian said perhaps now would be a moment to ponder the validity of decisions made to oppose Baha Mar's Chapter 11 filing and to push forward with the appointment of the provisional liquidators, setting Baha Mar on its current path. However, the reality is that this is in no way going to help the thousands of you Baha Mar citizens who are left without a job today. In his farewell to the former staff members, Ismailian added, "Whilst I am truly disappointed that we have not been able to provide you with the career and opportunities you deserve, I do hope that your time with Baha Mar, our culture, and the world-class training and development you received has made a positive contribution to your life. The skills, experience, and learning you have gained whilst being part of Baha Mar Nation can stay with you for life. I sincerely hope that you will be able to use them to full advantage in your future endeavors." Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
Veteran banker Nathaniel Benaby Jr. is the new executive chairman of the Bahamas Electricity Corporation. We understand the old BEC board, which was dissolved, met for the final time today, while BEC's new board met for the first time yesterday. This latest development comes as the BEC reform process continues. Former BEC Chairman Leslie Miller said this week many of the former board members feel disheartened, but he feels a sense of self-worth because former board members cleaned up some things at BEC. He said the new board would be responsible for the day-to-day running of BEC. Government signed a transitional agreement with Power Secure in July. The BEC reform process started back in 2013. Prime Minister Perry Christie hit back at critics who questioned his recent teachable moments comments regarding Hurricane Joaquin. While addressing Exuma's business community during the annual Exuma Business Outlook today, Christie also joked about how someone like Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe would have to beat him to become PLP leader. Kyle Joaquin has that.
Prime Minister Christie has gotten a lot of flack for suggesting inadequacies in NEMA's response before and after Hurricane Joaquin have proved a teachable moment. However, today in defending his assessment, Christie said the government has actually learned a lot and is still learning a lot from this experience.
They even questioned Christie talking about teachable moments. To the young students here, every experience in our country an island nation where the capital is on one island, New Providence, where the central government is on one island, New Providence. Every experience is and should be deemed and treated as a teachable moment.
While addressing the Exuma Business Outlook this morning, Christie sought once again to justify his words. The government, the National Emergency Management Agency, and now the Met Office have been criticized for their handling of the matter. He described how he feels the matter has somewhat become political.
And the problem with politics in the Bahamas is, I guess worldwide now, you oppose, you oppose, you oppose, you oppose. I'm not suggesting that that's what only the FNM does, because we very effectively oppose. But you have to see where sometimes when it comes to determining the way forward, we must ensure that there are those moments in our national life where politics is secondary, and where, as has been evidenced to a great extent with Hurricane Joaquin, the Bahamian people came together. As I indicated in the House of Assembly yesterday, the current leader of the opposition, and you know, with politics these days, you got to say the current one, because when you wake up tomorrow, it mightn't be the same thing. The point is, you people, especially you children, you young people, you know, your mummy might be FNM and the next one mummy might be PLP, but you all got to be friends. And your friendship must be stronger than the colors people wear on shirts.
But he said for a moment he saw the nation come together. And while speaking on that, Christie brought up democracy and how someone like Tourism Minister Obi Wilchcombe has the chance, if he wanted, to remove him as the leader of the Progressive Liberal Party.
I am here as a product of this wonderful democracy that we have. And the democracy means, to the young ones present, if Obi Wilchcombe wants my job, he has to beat me up to get it. In other words, he has to have an election, and the people have to decide. And the people decide. And if the people decide that that's what they want, why people won't get vexed with that? And why won't get vexed? And I could dance better than Obi anyhow.
The 9th Annual Business Outlook took place at Sandals Emerald Bay in Exuma. During that time, Christie also promised a host of entrepreneurs and business professionals of the island an expansion to Exuma's International Airport and further development of the Jack Hayward High School. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
And House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major has dismissed claims that he was undemocratic when he refused to allow Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner to speak in Parliament yesterday on the devastation caused in her constituency by Hurricane Joaquin. Major said he stands by his decision, telling NB12 the situation would have played out quite differently if Butler Turner hadn't grossly violated the parliamentary process.
Because I do not think I have been undemocratic in this regard.
Major said while he can understand Butler Turner's disappointment, he feels he was fair in his judgment when he denied the Long Island MP the opportunity to speak in Parliament yesterday on Hurricane Joaquin's devastating impact on her constituency. A tearful Butler Turner charged that Parliament was disgracefully undemocratic. However, the House Speaker said the opposition MP isn't telling the full story. Major said when Central Grand Bahama MP Nico Grant first asked that Butler Turner be permitted to speak, he asked to see her statement to ensure it was not controversial because minister's statements and communications were on yesterday's agenda.
So I told Mr. Grant, the member, I must see it. Time elapsed. I was dressing in my lavatory, walked out, getting ready to walk into the precincts of the House, and I met Mr. Grant, Central Grand Bahama, and the member for Long Island sitting in my office. I was stunned by this because
Major said things went downhill from there.
The question came up, well, I understand you're not allowing me to speak. And I indicated to the member, these are the parameters, why. And It didn't take long for me to notice that the member started to badger the chair. And also, in asking questions, they became accusatory. I thought that that was inappropriate, and I thought that it was disrespectful. And so I ended the meeting.
Major also questioned Butler Turner's true intent, asserting she took to Facebook calling Parliament disgracefully undemocratic even before her unexpected visit to his office. The House Speaker admitted that he sometimes uses his discretion to allow those who are not ministers to speak during minister statements and communications. But the Long Island MP's approach was all wrong.
The member for Long Island has every right to speak her mind with regard to the people of Long Island. I feel their pain. I think it's important. The member shows the right procedure and, in essence, didn't draw conclusions and badger and give me an opportunity to preview her comments. Perhaps it could have been issued at another point on the agenda.
Stay with us. There's more news after this break.